Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, it's time to take a close look at this open source console, and also known as the Retro R36 Max Edition. The R36 Max is the brand new version of the old school lineup that we have been reviewing here on the channel. However, I'm really wondering, is this thing any good, and is it actually an improvement? The first thing that is new, that it comes with a 4-inch display, but the resolution is completely different now with a 720 by 720 resolution. Yep, so it comes with a very strange resolution, 720 by 720, where we had like the previous model okay with 640 by 480, that is perfect for retro emulation or many devices. So when it comes to the device, we're going to be doing an overview later on, but let's do a quick overview of the, let's say, open source Linux system. So the support for emulators, which you can just actually see over here, runs all the way from 8-bit, 60-bit stuff and 64 PlayStation 1 to PlayStation Portable. And yeah, we are going to be looking at the 4-inch, it's an IPS panel, 720 by 720 resolution, and this thing comes with the Rockchip 3326. That is actually an ARM 64-bit quad-core, but however, this thing does have like quite a nice overall view when it comes to, let's say, the specifications and the power. Built-in 4000 milliamp battery, and yep, it gives you a battery life for around like 6 hours, and charging time is going to be 2 hours. But let's take a close look at it, because I am really curious now, because the 4-inch display, that's going to be very interesting and strange at the same time. The overall, let's say, impression is quite positive, because when you're looking at, let's say, the way how they're picking it up, and yep, we're having over here the toilet paper manual deluxe. Let's do a quick peek in the inside and seeing what we're getting. The manual, let's see, so it comes in 2 languages, and one of them will be English, explaining how everything works. I would say, like, read through it if you're interested in a product like this, how to exit game, how to pause, and how to go into the RetroArch mode. However, we do have like the same overall specifications in here again, and what I didn't mention, that it comes with an 8-watt, let's say, tiny speaker in the inside. So the case, that's kind of cool that it comes with a case. We have seen these things before, the carbon look with this very nice red zipper. So, but when you're looking at it, when here we're finding the USB-C cable, it comes with the screen protector and of course the handheld itself. They nicely putting in a little bit of a foam here to protect it, and we do have a screen protector, or at least like the piece of plastic that we can remove. So let's do that first. So what is interesting with this, that when you're looking at it, the form factor is very interesting and strange. Yeah, when again, there is a little bit of room between over here. I think it's not even something you can pick up from the camera. So the configuration of the buttons, so that is a different story. And I mean, in particular, when you're looking at the previous model, so having over here 2 hearts with the select to start. It's kind of funny of a detail, but personally, yeah, I think they should do stuff like that. The D-pad, yeah, this is a little bit of a downside, because the D-pad itself, it's not the best one out there. So first of all, you do, or I feel over here, different resistance when it comes to the D-pad, and that is absolutely a downside. But how about the D-pad? How does it actually play? At first playing this thing, I was not happy at all. And with the simple reason, you can just see that I do struggle sometimes with games like this for getting my moves out. And that has simply to do with the pads underneath of the D-pad, where the movement from bottom and back is perfect, no problem here. And also go to the other side. This is not a handicap when I'm having. So 2 analog sticks, similar to the Nintendo Switch when it comes to that, and also with the click. Over here I had this extra button that for me, didn't figure out what this was like for, because with mine, let's say, didn't do anything. So the form factor of, let's say, the ABXY, you know, the button configuration is interesting, and why they're putting A and B over there. That is something I have never seen before. However, when you're going to be touching the feel itself is quite nice. There are tiny buttons, but not like bad at all. So when you're going to be looking up close to these things, you have like a very nice feel, and also quite sturdy. When you're looking at it, there's no like wiggle button going on over there. So what is a very interesting and strange choice. So we do have 2 speaker holes at the bottom, but we do have any speakers there. We do have one only in the middle, and it sounds quite okay. But it's cool that they still having a headphone jack over here and the input for the USB-C or the charger itself, and we do have an OTG port. At the back we're finding the all famous back buttons, and the back buttons do have a different, let's say, when it comes to a level, and that makes it okay to reach in. However, the biggest problem I'm already having with this is the resistance of these things. They're using micro switch, and also here I did notice quite a lot of difference. The resistance of, let's say, the R1 and the R2 is significant different, and that is not a good thing. Over here I have a physical volume, we're having over here SD card slot number 1, and on the other side we're going to be having the card slot as number 2 with the on off switch and the reset. So that's actually what we're getting when it comes to this. Powering on, we'll have this R36 Max, and the first impression that this is an absolutely beautiful display. So let's take a close look at the main menu itself. Navigation can be done with the D-pad over here and with both joysticks. That's quite interesting and kind of weird at the same time. However, so navigating, you can just see what kind of stuff we're having. The menu is quite easy to use. We're having favorite, all of the games. We're having Amstrad, CPC, a lot of arcade stuff, Atari, WonderSwan, and we've reached into the point that we have so a crazy amount of different stuff that we can play with it, and I think it's just great. There's so many different systems. However, with this rock chip, we have the option to play and emulate a lot now, but we do have limitations that we're going to be finding out later on. But let's do a quick scroll through the games and also do some testing when it comes to the controls and everything else. But let's take a close look at the menu itself. That looks absolutely amazing, and most of them will just have a picture, and you can see that there are some of them even have a video, so that's even more of a unique situation because normally those videos take up way too much space on the SD cards. But it's a quite nice overall collection. And you can add, of course, your own games if you want to. Then we're having the save files situation, and we can just boot up the game by pressing A, fairly easy. You can also filter or search for the game. So let's say we're going to be searching for Mortal Kombat. You can just fairly easy search. You can use the analog stick if you want to. Let's say that we're going to be searching Mortal Kombat but not filling in the full name. And you can just actually see how that easy that works out. So when it comes to the quick load, quick save and everything, it works very nicely. So if you have any problems with the emulators that I noticed before, you can press and get into the emulator settings when it comes to that. But I can actually hear that we do have some audio issues, and I'm guessing this has just to do with the emulator that we're running. I think it was the Mame 2003 that we're running, so maybe I need to mess around with it a little bit more by showing you later how that has been done. So let's get into the game. But Mame emulation, these things are powerful enough. However, Killer Instinct and Tekken Mame will not run on this. I must say that I'm kind of surprised about that I can actually do some moves. I can pull them out because I was not really satisfied about the D-pad of my version. But also the display looks so weird with this 720 by 20. Like the 720 by 720 is not the perfect resolution for playing these particular games. So one thing is for sure. So pressing select to start will bring you back to the main menu itself. The trick with many different software also works here by holding normally the A button, but there's now the X, completely messed it up when it comes to the button mapping. We're going to be doing the advanced game options. You can just see that the emulator is set to the different, let's say the Mame 2003 Plus automatically. But what you can do is just scrolling through different emulators. So let's say the Mame 2010, and this way we can just like mess around with it to see which emulator will work perfectly for the game itself and fix the audio issues and many other problems. So let's move on to some other systems with the PC Engine. And one of the things I do notice with the audio, it's very high pitched, but where it's only one single speaker, it does sound really good. So audio quality is nice. It's not absolutely my favorite one when it comes to the audio quality because I've heard so many different devices now. But you're going to be listening to the soundtracks. Yeah. Navigation is going to be working fine. Let's move to the analog stick. Okay, so the right one doesn't do anything. That's good because I've been seeing some weird shenanigans that the ABXY were meant to the right joystick. But the overall emulation, yeah, it's just great. But what is the unfortunate part about this situation? That not everything has been mapped like the previous, let's say, menus of the arcade and Mame. So yeah, sometimes you do have just this, some empty boxes with the text. So the overall image itself, there's still a lot of work that we need to do besides setting up the emulators itself. So let's get into some 16-bit stuff with the Turtles and then having the Super NES. So also a great test for just seeing how the navigation goes when it comes to the D-pad. But also here, it's very nice to play with. So I don't like the feel itself, but the inputs are great. And also here they didn't do some weird shenanigans with the right joystick and the inputs of the buttons. So that part seems to be working just fine. So where this is not like the best way to actually play Game Boy, and I mean particularly when you're looking at the screen itself, and yeah, the weird, let's say, resolution, to be honest, I think it looks kind of cool. And just playing through, let's say, a couple of, let's say, stages with this game, oh man, I love the soundtracks. It makes me really loving this speaker in the middle. And maybe they did the right choice of getting the speaker in the middle, beside some of the devices have them in the bottom part compartment. Controls are perfect, no problem there. Still need to get used to the freaking analog stick if you're going to be playing like that, but I'm not just like an analog gamer, I'm more a fan of the D-pad, and the D-pad, where the resistance is quite okay, it plays good enough for these Game Boy games. So the overall experience, where this is not the perfect way to play maybe Game Boy games, I do like it a lot, because the screen is beautiful. So moving on to the Game Boy Advance, and let's say you can't live with the weird resolution, so what you can do is by holding, in this case, the X button, but actually it's going to be the A inside of the software, and going to advanced options, and what you can do is actually going to the game aspect ratio, putting out on core provided, and what will actually happen is going to be forcing it into the right resolution. What actually going to be happening now is that we're going to be having two massive black bars on top and at the bottom. So it will force it in the right resolution, and yeah, is this actually the way you want to play? Let me know. So if you don't really care about, let's say, the black bars, but you want to have the perfect resolution, yeah, then this is one of the ways to go to, forcing it into the certain resolution these games were intended to be played. So that is one of the things I don't really get with the 720 by 720 pixel display, is that a lot of games will not really benefit from it. But if you're going to be like messing with it, you can always get like a perfect resolution of the screen. But emulation, of course, on the R36 or Max, is whatever, it doesn't even matter how this freaking thing called. The emulation performance is great, but we do have so many different ways to play when it comes to GBA. So if you're a really big fan of GBA games and you just want to particularly play this is not even the right handheld to actually play, because there are many better options out there, particularly when it comes to resolution and so. One other thing you can do is playing some Nintendo DS games. However, yeah, for me, this is just a no-go. And yeah, you can just actually play it like that if you want to. Oh man, it's glitching like crazy. But I just wanted to showcase what you can actually do. So another thing is you can just start a game. Why I chose a freaking turtle, I have no idea. Having a brain fart here. But you can press the right joystick. In this case, we can just switch. Okay, let's see if the buttons are mapped. And here we can just switch between all of the options. You can go to the main menu, or at least like the drastic emulator if you want to. But this is like many ways you can just play. Ah, there we go. But emulation performance of the Nintendo DS is quite good when it comes to that. Let's figure out where my turbo button is. There we go. Bashing into the tree. I can also use the analog stick and the D-pad. But is it comfortable? That's a different story. I must say that the resistance of the back buttons, already mentioned before, are really annoying me. It's even worse than you're going to be playing. But yeah, this is one of the other ways you can play. And if you just want to play like this, you can do that. Use the right joystick. Let's zoom in for the stylus if you want to. And this way you can play your NDS games. For me, I don't like it. Yeah, and if you wonder, can you play N64? There were some games that were actually playable, but of course let's do the Cruising USA test. We can mess with emulators if you want to and see which one will run the game perfect, or at least best as it can be. But we don't have enough power when it comes to this. Okay, so let's see which button I need to actually use. Yeah, and this is another problem. The back button is having so much, let's say, resistance. It's not going to be comfortable playing this. I think one of the things I just hate about it. Oh, that emulation, I can't stand it anymore. And how about some Sega Genesis? Yeah, still having the weird resolution. Everybody is so tall now. However, I don't know if the camera even picks it up. It looks so amazing. I'm so flabbergasted about the display they're using. Like the viewing angle, it looks so great. But let's get into some gaming and let's see how this game will play. Well, I do hear a little bit weird thing going on with the audio, but I think this has just simply to do that we're having one speaker. Navigation is very smooth with the D-pad again. But if you want to get into the RetroArch menu, pressing select and A, or actually Y, man, I really hate that they messed it up with the buttons. We can make a save over here. And with the save, we can just going back to the certain moment when you're going to be launching a game, because also with launching the game there we're having some options. However, you can just see we can quit like this, but of course we can also use the select and start in the beginning. So we do have a lot of options when it comes to this, when it comes to playing, quick saving and everything else. But let's see where we can move more when it comes to playing games. Let's skip to the Dreamcast. Okay, I just wanted to see what happens if you're going to be playing some Dead Alive 2. Yeah, it doesn't, oh man, look happy over emulation performance. Oh man, what a mess it is. So let's press select to start and let's go to the menu, because this is not the way how you want to play these games. So what we're going to be doing is holding the A button again, going to advanced game options and see if we can change out a different emulator. You can see we have all kind of different emulators. If it's going to be helping, yeah, that's a good question. I think it doesn't even help big time. So we can have like different, like say, options. Oh man, and see if we can even do a little bit of tweaking and seeing if we can get something to run decent enough to enjoy when it comes to Dreamcast. So I've been messing with the emulators. I can tell you there were no of the emulators preset on this device that were actually working, because the other ones didn't even boot up the game itself. But let's try out a different game just to see what's actually going on over here. So for SHMUPs, I do love it when it comes to the D-pad itself. Of course, we do have like a lot of dips, particularly when they're going to be crazy on the screen, but two-dimensional games seems to be running just fine. That's what we're going to be calling some freaking bullet hell. So performance of Sega Dreamcast out of the box, it's not superb. It's going to be a hit or miss, I think, particularly when it comes to playing two-dimensional games. So take that in consideration when it comes to that. But PlayStation Portable is a system that they should remove, with the simple reason, because come on, let's be honest, if you're going to be using the core provide and going to put it in the right aspect ratio, this is what we're getting, like massive black bars on the screen like this. And also the emulation performance, it's quite choppy. We can mess around with emulators and all kinds of things to get a little bit better performance, and we will find some of the games. But in the end, if you're going to be playing PlayStation Portable on this, it's maybe fun and game, but this is not the way how you actually want to play these games. It's absolutely a nightmare. Man, oh man, oh man. So let's move on to some PlayStation 1. And we've reached the point that everything will run just fine now. So that's great. However, you need to add yourself on BIOS if you want to have like perfect support when it comes to playing every single game perfectly. I'm just looking at my display of the camera and not the screen itself. But when it comes to playing this, I've been putting it to the core provide when it comes to aspect ratio to get ourselves the black bars at having perfect resolution. So one of the things you can actually play great with a device like this are the SHMUPs. So let's do that. Let's lower the volume because, oh man, it's a really high-pitched tiny speaker. So now I'm going to be using it on the settings that is going to be forcing it into the right resolution from the core on, or resolution has been set through the core. So this is going to be having the resolution what's going to be happening then. But yeah, this looks absolutely awesome, and I think if you love the SHMUPs, this can be a very cool way to play. But you know what we're going to be doing? We're going to be doing it differently now. So we're going to be pressing select and start. We're going all the way back to the menu. And the reason why I wanted to do this is that, first of all, I wanted to show you what I needed to do, because I needed to force it into the Final Burn Neo, otherwise it wouldn't boot up. So let's shut this down. Let's put it back to auto, and let's boot up the game again. And we're going to be showcasing it in the full screen. So what we're getting now is actually this game going to be stretched to the maximum. But still we're going to be playing it like this, where this is not the perfect resolution. This is actually a very cool way to play. But of course it's more like a personal opinion about this. But let me know, what do you prefer? Would you love to see this game in action on the original aspect ratio on this screen, or just going to be using it full screen as it is? However, this is absolutely awesome. But how about if you're going to be comparing this with the older model at the left over here, having the normal version, and now with the Max. And quite a lot of differences and improvements I've noticed. Of course, the biggest difference we're getting is of course the display itself. It's massive compared with the older model. But besides that, let's do a quick overview of a couple of features. So you can just see they're still using the 3 front-facing buttons over here in the middle. So having the D-pad. And the D-pad, on first like eye when you're going to be looking at it, they absolutely improved it with giving it a little bit more curve. And also when it comes to, let's say, the feel, everything is better. However, when you're going to be looking at the feel, you're going to be using the older version over here. The resistance of the new one is absolutely better, having less resistance and just a good feel. However, playing fighting games is not going to be a good thing. However, another difference is, and it's quite interesting and big difference, we're going to be looking at the ABXY buttons. Yeah, they completely messed it up with assembly, but the way how it feels, and of the new version, just the resistance on the membranes underneath are absolutely better. But what is interesting, when they're having these round shaped buttons over there, they went for like completely different one, more like concave like buttons. It's quite an interesting choice. The next decision they also made is like the joysticks. They are so much different, particularly when you're going to be looking at the new one. And if we're going to get ourselves the older version, you can see the height of it is different. But also the resistance, we're going to be feeling it. It's a little bit more loose. But they also still have both of the speaker at the front. So of course the biggest difference is the back over there. With the new version is so much more ergonomic. So they went a little bit of a downgrade, because the older one you can just open it up like that. If you want to replace the battery, they went away from this. So you need to open it up, pack a couple of screws. You need to get yourself pry tools. But how about the back buttons? So the back buttons also here, they did changes. However, the changes are better, but also not like say perfect at all. And what do I mean with this? So you can just see they're just putting it on one simple row with minor difference. But when you're going to be holding it in your hand, this is not comfortable at all when it comes to the older model. And the new version, you can see it's more ergonomic, has like a curve to it, and feels absolutely great. However, if you're going to be holding it, it's still too much of a resistance when it comes to these buttons. And this is a little bit of a downside. The old one has the same problem, where the ergonomics of the new one is better. You still have like too much resistance, so this should fix it in the future. Beside that, when you're going to be looking, of course, the performance and everything else, that's a different story. Don't you love those typos? But beside that, we had like a bigger battery, having this in 3500 milliamp. This is a 4000. So when it comes to form factor and everything and how comfortable it is, they did improve it with the newer version. You can see when it comes to the size of it, it's almost identical. When it comes to how wide it is, but it's just more comfortable simply because of the bump. But there are still many things they should improve, whether you ask me. And what we're going to be doing a quick side-by-side of the display. Yeah, you can just actually see how beautiful this newer version is. It's so much significant better. And we're just having with the right one over here. There goes my side-by-side. What the heck? So let's try that again with a side-by-side comparison of the two devices. So one of the things is that when you're looking just at both of the displays, yeah, the left one, I just wanted to put it on full screen to give the best overall experience of the, let's say, display. And you can just see how beautiful this newer version is. It's absolutely a massive improvement over the old one. Of course, the resolution is not perfect. We can squeeze it back to the original resolution. But next up, let's do a quick audio test, because how does both of these soundtracks are sounding through this device? Is there like any improvement, or is there even any difference? But what do I think of this new version? Where they made the decision for the 720 by 720, it makes no sense to me. Maybe they just wanted to try something differently. However, the D-pad, this is just going to be a problem for me, because this is not going to be the best game handheld for playing fighting games. However, the 720 by 720 is a beautiful display, and if you're going to be using this for playing shmups, yeah, this is going to be absolutely awesome. You also can do a little bit of squeezing with the core providing, let's say, with the resolution. Beside that, if you're going to be replacing the battery, that can be done. You can see the connector over there. I love these see-through cases, by the way. It does come a little bit of heat off from the device itself, so it's kind of surprising they didn't go with active cooling or like a tiny, let's say, piece of metal. However, this is what it is. So when it comes to the buttons, when it comes to the comfortability, this is a very comfortable device itself. It's not like a super wide handheld, so meaning if you're having like bigger hands than mine, it's not going to be very comfortable. The bumps at the back are very comfortable, but the back buttons are just horrible, like with the D-pad, because this is not the favorite D-pad. Throughout the games, like say the game sessions, I did notice like for, let's say, shmups or beat 'em ups, it's okay, but for fighting games, this is not the D-pad itself. It's very cool. It comes with, let's say, a very nice looking case. But yeah, let me know in the comments what do you think of the overall emulation performance and the resolution display. And it would be great to see you in the next video.